I never wanted to be a filmmaker.
So much for the lumberjack career.
But I just wanted to make a Discworld film, and it's weird how that ended up kind of being my life's focus.
Here is a story that is written by Terry Pratchett, who has an enormous fan base, a massive fan base. So you're running a gambit when making a film like Trollbridge. You're gambling that you have the skills to make these fans happy.
Daniel was a big Terry Pratchett fan for many, many years. A lot of Daniel's humour is certainly based around that. It's just so fantastical and fun and silly, and they're just everything that I love to certainly watch with my movies, but also read.
The first accomplishment coming from this movie is gonna be that we have a goddamn movie of our own. And it's a movie that has not been compromised into something that has to fit every focus group in Middle America.
It is a fantasy film, and Australia hasn't done those for a while. We've done them from a technical sense. We've got some amazing post facilities that have done it, and we've done it with American input. But those aren't projects that are being generated by Australians.
In essence, Trollbridge is about the world's last barbarian hero embarking on a suicide mission to battle a troll. He doesn't expect to survive, he doesn't particularly want to. The world's moved on from needing barbarian heroes to save the day. There isn't a place for him in it anymore.
It's a wonderful story, it's a heartbreaking story, and a movie that is so true to Terry Pratchett's vision.
Yeah, he always tackles subject matters that are important to being a human. It's not fluff, Discworld, and it can easily be done as fluff, but to be able to have the emotional resonance while you're dealing with this ridiculous situation is what I think Terry Pratchett is about.
Look, I've always been a huge fan of the Discworld, and I always wanted to see a Discworld film, and I was pottering through my head the conceivable ways of doing that. A full-length Discworld novel just wasn't going to happen. So I started thinking about the short stories. Some of them worked really well, some of them probably wouldn't be that great. So it was either going to be The Sea of Little Fishes or Trollbridge as a short film, and I like barbarians and men with swords, so Trollbridge was it.
Discworld was first told to me by a fellow, I was in Venturous at the time, so a fellow venturer was telling me about Discworld and said, Daniel, this is a book series you'd really, really, really enjoy. And then proceeded to tell me about The Luggage, which I thought was the most absurd thing ever, and therefore I wasn't interested in it. It was like, I was into serious fantasy, you understand, at that point. And by serious fantasy, I mean Dungeons and Dragons fantasy. And then a couple of years later, the production company that I was working for amateur theatre, Black Yak Theatre, was doing a production of Mort, adapted by Stephen Briggs. I read the script and really, really, really liked it. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna read the book now. I was a young kid at the time. I was going to audition for Mort because he was the lead and I was an aspiring actor. Of course I'd audition for Mort. I ended up playing the door knocker. But I would say that's where my true love affair for Terry Pratchett's world first started. After Mort we did Guards, and after that we did Weird Sisters, which was my first full-length directorial debut. Then we did Masquerade, I played Walter Plinge, and then Sorcery, which I adapted myself and once again directed. I later moved across the country and wanted to get involved in film. I was becoming less and less interested in acting at that point, was discovering that directing was actually the path I wanted to take. So I was doing a lot of student films, and while I was doing the student films, I was realizing that they teach them how to use a camera and where to point a microphone and all the rest of it, but they don't teach them how to deal with actors. So my arrogance, because I'd been acting a fair bit, and because I'd already directed a few things, I thought, well, I can direct a film. I could direct a film. That'd be simple. That'd be a piece of cake.
Everyone has a camera nowadays. The software on computers has come to a stage where any person can make a film. All it requires is a bit of perseverance and talent, I suppose. But it's certainly become more accessible to the little people to do. On the internet, a lot of people had done Star Wars fan films, and from there I knew that we could make a Discworld fan film.
This project for myself began about 12 years ago, actually. Very, very early on. I was actually location scouting with Daniel when we came up with the name Snowgum Films. Daniel had this idea and it was like, cool, we're going to do it, but we need to find somewhere to film this. And unfortunately, all those locations were at least 2.5 hours from Melbourne. Daniel, back in the days of the location scouting, was... it's like a kid in a candy store. I mean, it was such early days back then. We were all so excited to even be contemplating doing this, and the fact that we'd actually driven, 4 hours up to the snowfield somewhere, it was becoming a reality. So you couldn't stop him. He was that excited to be there. His energy was just, 110% the whole time we're out there looking, because it was no longer just this pipe dream of, I want to make this movie. It's like, no, we are actually going to make this movie. We're actually here now looking to shoot in places, so it is absolutely going to happen. So anything I could do, I was more than willing to help with. So location scouting, Daniel didn't have a car, I'd drive him wherever he wanted to go. So we drove quite a sizable chunk of Victoria looking for bluestone bridges, snowfields, forests, all sorts of places. And we did a lot of driving. It was just mostly Daniel and myself, and certainly having worked for a long time as a projectionist, we'd spend a lot of time together, sort of alone anyway, so definitely spending a day in the car with Daniel wasn't too much of a shock to the system, though I can certainly see for some people it will be. And was basically at Daniel's whim. Go here, go there, what's down that road, I don't care, it's not on the map, just go down there, we'll come back.
Just fixed the car because it broke down out in the middle of fucking nowhere. With packing tape.
Yep, where's the tree? We'd done a drive up to Mount Buller, I believe, to do some scouting up there for backgrounds, counting away the hours on our road trips, rattling off, what can we call ourselves, we're just throwing out all these stupid little film names, and we went past some snow gum trees up in the snowfields, and Daniel was like, oh, what about snow gum? And I'm like, yeah, it's not bad. But it really stuck with Daniel. It really sort of resonated with him, and yeah, it stuck.
This is a snow gum. That's what we've named our little filmmaking organisation after. As you can see, it's a gum tree, which we have lots of here in Australia, and it grows in snow, which we don't have lots of in Australia.
We were bush bashing through forests to try and find these little nooks and discover these, hidden places that no one has really seen, that we would be nice and quiet and be able to film there, but also have something just amazing on film as well. I mean, cut legs, thorns, blisters, the rain, the cold, the snow in some locations as well. Running up and down mountains and climbing through thistles and branches and everything. So it was, yeah, it wasn't too bad. We got along all right on it, but quite exhausting. And by the end of the day, we just didn't want to see each other for probably another week or 3. But I believe there was a photo of us parked under some falling rock signs or something somewhere up near Mount Buller at one point, because Daniel had to get out there and have a look at this specific location at this drop off next to the road, which is, just wide enough for the cars to fit past. And certainly, car, falling rock sign, Daniel's off climbing down some gorge somewhere. So yeah, nothing was off limits with the location scouting. but I'm glad that we ended up finding some places that were a little bit more practical to shoot in with 20, 30 people in tow.
Yeah, look, I love them. I love fan films. I think it really gives an opportunity for everyday people to express, I suppose, how much they really love these films, these books, and the amount of work that goes into them is phenomenal. Like I've seen a lot of Star Wars fan films, a couple of the Lord of the Rings fan films as well.
So I think they're very important, and as time progressed, the fan films would often become more and more complicated. So it only made sense that for my first film that I should direct, it would be Discworld based. I got in contact with Terry. Terry said yes, and that was on one provision, and that was that I didn't cock it up. If you go off and create your own film with your own plot and your own story, and you don't have any sort of name for yourself, it's very difficult to get people involved, and it's very difficult to get an audience to watch it. You need a hook.
You leave that like that. More hunched over, maybe. Head up. Yes, nice. Watch the. Cool, you got it. The hunched over? Yeah, good. Try and keep the hunch. Yeah, excellent. We'll go with that.
I didn't classify myself as an actor in them days because I was just starting out, because I just retired and I wanted something to do, and I thought, oh look, I'd watched a few Australian soaps. I thought, any idiot can do this.
Still got the old macaroni, eh? Right then, let's get this thing started.
I can't truly remember doing any rehearsal. When we very first started, we did half an hour in his backyard where he was teaching me to hit the sword into the ground or something and say Cowardunga or whatever it was I said, you know.
My mum happened to find an article in the newspaper about a local filmmaker making a film, which happened to be Dan. My mum's like, why don't you go along? And me at the time being super shy, I'm like, I can't just call someone up and do that. So she rang up the newspaper, rang Dan's mum.
That's sort of a play date. Yeah.
It was a play date without even something to do. Just helping out and just being a runner, basically. And then from there, just became involved on the other sets. I've worked on so much since then. It's been production design, costume, sets, effects. So a bit of a hand in everything.
Yeah, the original bridge location that we had was a hellish nightmare, to be honest. As actually most of the Trowbridge shoots have been since. It's set the scene. It was around Darsford. There was a bridge on the side of the road. It was used during gold mining times, I'm assuming. It was a beautiful bluestone construction, but the road had been shifted, and so essentially this stone bridge was disembodied in an embankment on the side of the road. And we thought, well, that's great, we can shoot on that, and then we can just green screen everything else out around it. Not fully understanding what green screening was or anything like that, but you know, why not give that a go?
Probably the first thing that comes to mind is the weather. It was a really nice summer day for Yorkshire, but for Australia it was bloody freezing.
It was in winter because we wanted it to be cold, and because it was rural Victoria, it was cold, so we had to deal with rain and blistering winds.
I didn't have much costume. I had a bit of a rug that was on somebody's floor in the car, and they threw it over me to keep me warm. But rather than keep me warm, it kept me cold because it got wet, and the wind was howling through it, and I was freezing. You know, shocking.
And what was interesting about the winds is that they gave us all windburn. Like it was the exact same effect of sunburn. That's what windburn is. It's like you could slap yourself and it would sting afterwards. It would be red. You were red from the winds.
7 bloody hours of makeup, that's too much, mate.
7 hours? What time did you start?
Quarter past 3 this morning.
We get up there, and as I just said, it was a nice Yorkshire day, freezing, and the glue on the beard wouldn't take, and the beard kept falling off. So I'm trying to act holding the beard up with one arm. The rug that they had on me was falling off, so I was trying to act with holding the rug on, holding the beard on, and the skull cap was peeling as well. It was shocker. But that makeup lady, she was wonderful. She was going up, sticking glue on and sticking things down. And, oh, you know, she was good and trying to keep me warm.
It's something I've been meaning to do ever since I was a boy. My old man, he said to me, he said,
We're going to have to be fucking careful with the cigarettes around that beard. If during the week you can get some really light cigarettes and just practice around the home, or not around the home, in the backyard or whatever.
I've been a non-smoker all my life, but they told me they were herbal, but I don't know. I kept seeing bright colours and clouds floating past and all sorts. I think they might have been more than herbal. They might have been wacky or something, you know. But anyway, yeah, I had to keep lighting it. And the wind kept blowing the match out. We went through one box of matches to try light one cigarette up at one stage.
Obviously, we don't have as much safety as what we would like to have on a big budget shoot, because this isn't a big budget shoot. So yeah, we had to do some things by halves as far as safety is concerned. But hey, everyone survives, so that's a good thing.
There was a couple of shots I think we had to get from quite an elevated perspective. So Daniel had organised a scaffolding to be constructed there out on location, but where the scaffolding was positioned was kind of in a area which sloped down towards the riverbed, because obviously the bridge we were shooting on, there was a creek running through underneath it. And to say that it was unsteady would be probably an understatement. It was a little bit rickety, and I think the words occupational health and safety were mentioned more than once.
He's pretty solid.
And on top of that, we had green screen, which was, I think, a green screen constructed out of painted cinema banners and then glued down the middle. So we had a bit of a challenge to actually get our green screen not flexing and moving and creasing and crimping amongst the 100-kilometre-an-hour winds and the pouring rain that we were faced with.
I just remember the horse. It was a beautiful animal, really, really nice animal. It's placid, didn't try to bite you, just did as it was told, more or less. It sort of answered back a few times and gave you a bit of a hard time, but otherwise it was okay. Yeah, good horse. Yeah, it learned its dialogue more than I did. Yeah.
So I was a huge pusher of wanting to do the horse a la Babe, or The Nutty Professor, or thousands of other movies where an animal is talking, obviously moving their mouth in time with the words and stuff like that. That was going to be ridiculously time consuming, so I relented and said, yeah, okay, we'll do it like Mr. Ed, which I think is perfectly reasonable for the Discworld. It's once again parodying and playing on what's already gone before. So the horse now talks like Mr. Ed. We experimented with peanut butter, carrots and bread. Carrots worked in the end, so what we're doing is we're feeding the horse carrots. The horse is eating the carrots, and we put the voiceover in after that.
And then we had computer-generated characters as well. So we had we had to have the character of Cohen, older Cohen, acting to thin air. I think he was acting to a ball on a stick, or just a stick with a cross on it sometimes. So
we had to deal with weather that was either raining or too sunny, which was going to be a problem because of where we were setting it. It needed to be quite overcast a lot of the time, so there was a lot of waiting between shots, waiting for it to be appropriately overcast where it wasn't raining and wasn't shining through with the sun.
On one of the shoots we had at the bridge, I think we ended up cancelling due to one of the largest downpours I think I've come across in filmmaking experience. We started filming in the morning and it was kind of drizzling, and we were kind of trying to make the best out of a bad situation, but I think once it hit sort of late morning, we knew that we were not getting anything of any quality, And I distinctly remember, as we were packing up, getting a digital photo of Daniel, and I think it summed up the mood at the time, which was him standing soaking wet in the pouring rain, looking very demoralised. But we managed to get the shots we needed to, and nobody ended up with any life-altering injuries, so I suppose that was the main thing.
So we went to a pine plantation for Cohen travelling to the bridge, and then we went off into a farmer's paddock for after the bridge sequence, and both of those shoots were delightful because it was sunny and warm.
It was a glorious day, sun shining, it was utterly fantastic, which is, once again, another problem because we didn't want the sun shining on that day, but that's okay, we can fix that in post.
One of the best shoots we had for Troll Bridge. We had a great day for it, and we had a great location for it. I got to ride around on the back of a ute for most of the day with a Steadicam, which was a bit of fun.
It managed to boost everyone's spirits up after the horrendous days at the bridge, because they were quite horrendous.
Just, I think we were like, yeah, this will be easy. You know, you can make films these days, and you know, all these films have all these special effects, so they can't be that hard to make. If sort of everyone's doing it, so certainly it was ambitious, but maybe a little naive in the complexity of it. But it was people that were just enthusiastic, you know, that wanted to make a film, had never done it, but hey, let's try and do this, let's try and make this film and learn as we go. But definitely going out and doing something this big, for people that don't really know what they're doing, it's been a big learning curve, but it's been a lot of fun.
Okay, in the original version of Troll Bridge, the prologue was essentially going to be a battle between Cohen and the evil wizard Sepsis Leech, who was going to sacrifice a virgin sacrifice to the demon lords and then gain ultimate power, because that's what happens in Sword and Sorcery.
Well, Sepsis Leech was the, or is, the evil wizard, as it were. Now, in the original incantation of Troll Bridge, it was basically the story behind how Cohen received the eye patch because Sepsis Leech actually attacked him with a knife.
So, the evil wizard and Cohen have a bit of a sword fight, because I wanted to shoot a sword fight, and then they call over the guards, and then the guards get involved, and we had 5 reenactors at that point who were helping out. And that was it. That's all it was. It was supposed to be a tiny little 5-minute thing to give me a sword fight that I wanted to shoot. That's all it was. It wasn't supposed to be anything more than that.
Basically, this is the last fight rehearsal and last line rehearsal before the shoot on Saturday. If things aren't right tonight, we're kind of screwed. So we'll see how things go.
Mr. Bench, there's a seat there. I had also put it on my leg. I've competed overseas for World Championships, won the Worlds quite a few times. This is one of my t-shirts that Rod's wearing right now, Slaughterhouse Gym Melbourne. My logo is home of Mr. Bench, so all my t-shirts and weight belts and hoodies that I make, I've got my logo Mr. Bench, and yeah, I was named Mr. Bench many years ago for holding 55 plus world records now.
55 plus world records, yeah.
Rod actually lifted off me last week when I broke the world record at 265 kilos at 77 kilo body weight, which is nearly just under 3.5 times body weight. Never been done before in Australia. We're at Slaughterhouse Melbourne. It's my gym. It's a private gymnasium which I do personal training from, and also have members train here. I've been doing it for 15, 20 years actually, yeah. But this place has just been opened up the last 5 months. I mean, I'm a hairdresser by trade, so I'll still do hairdressing as well on the side, but I just involve myself more with the gym now, and it's a goal. It gives the motivation that I love doing it, and just keeps me going. How did I get involved? God, it's gone back a few years now. I think I got a surprise phone call from Daniel, and rang me up and said, if you want to do a movie. I did a few acting roles before, and yeah, so out of the blue I just got a phone call, and he said come and see me. So yeah.
So I was involved in it when it first started, way back when my kids were about this high. So my original, oh shit, look at that.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ. So that's my son.
The rehearsal process, I thought the rehearsal process was fantastic. I mean, everybody wants to fight with swords. I own a sword at home after watching Braveheart and Highlander. I went out and bought a sword. Like, in fact, I called my son Connor after Connor McLeod from Highlander. So I just love the whole sword fighting thing. And when I found out that Sepsis Leach gets to battle young Cohen in a sword fight, it was just brilliant.
It was the first short film that I'd ever auditioned for, and this was, I don't know what, 12 years ago. I think. I've been heavy in theatre for about 25 years. So film was always something that I really wanted to do. So, and I saw this advertised. I wanted to do a short film, and I'm a massive fantasy fan. I was at dinner with a friend's place, and I got the call from Dan, and I've come back to the dinner table and said, yeah, I've got the part. So I was so excited because it was the first one I'd ever got. So that was awesome.
Very early on in the piece, I contacted the Wallachian Garrison, which is a group of historical reenactors, people in Melbourne who dress up in armour, go around into fields and start hacking at each other with bladed weapons. So I got in contact with a man called Sven, who was also very keen on choreographing it all and managed to piece together a lot of the armour and arms that you see in the piece.
So you had John Jenkins, who had a bit of martial arts, a bit of service in the Royal Navy, that sort of thing. So he could handle a sword. And then we had Ange, who was a bodybuilder, Mr. Australia, who couldn't actually raise a sword above here. So he couldn't actually do this sort of pose because his arms were so big, he couldn't actually raise them up.
I reckon they gave me a heavier sword. I'm not sure, but they were throwing their swords around like nothing, but mine was weighed like a ton of bricks. It doesn't matter what sort of bodybuilding. So people think, oh, you do bodybuilding, you're strong in this area. Like Sven said, to hold the sword up there, I can't get my arms up there because I'm not that flexible, As much as I train every day, my wrists after a few hours of holding that sword were sore out. So it was amazing, different muscles you're using. You don't have to be a bodybuilder to use a sword, to put it that way.
We like to train actors on how to fight. Bottom line, we're going to teach them how to fight. So if something goes wrong, they can protect themselves and not hurt the other guy. They've got to be competent. They've got to have trust in each other. So if something goes wrong and someone forgets that they're supposed to do a head block when someone's about to clean them in the head, you've got to know that they're comfortable enough to actually put the sword in place. And if there isn't a sword in place as the guy's coming down, he's going to stop before he actually cleaves the guy's head in two.
It knackers you. It absolutely knackers you. Bringing this fucking sword around in rehearsals for hours upon hours. I mean, I had forearms like Ange's at the end of it. They were just huge.
You're using metal weapons, but they're blunt. But if you get hit with a blunt metal weapon, it's still going to hurt and do damage.
Performing with actors is very different from fighting amongst reenactors. Reenactors are physically trying to hit each other, although we train to fight to touch with an actor, because quite often they'll be wearing no armour, as our barbarian hero was for this piece.
Oh yeah, arm guards?
Oh, yes, and a leather posing pouch. On fluffy boots.
Fluffy boots.
But Dan was trying to motivate Ange to try and get him, like, we've got to be angry, we're fighting each other. And he's out the back and he's going, you fucking hate him, and he's pushing Ange. And he's pushing me and he says, John, just push him. I'm not fucking pushing him. Fucking huge. And he's got, get him angry. I don't want to get him angry.
I'm a huge fan of medieval weaponry. I'm a huge fantasy fan, so any opportunity I could grab to, hack at John usually was a huge thing that I wanted to do, and I did. And listen, the armour as well. It's so heavy, and just the feel, the texture, the sheer acceleration that runs through your body of waving a sword about. No, I love it. Huge fan. The last day of shooting at the tavern, which was an old stables which we converted into a tavern, and the area around the campfire, that was a long shoot.
The tavern was one of the great shoots, I think, of Trowbridge, because it was actually one of the scenes in the film I actually got to do some really creative lighting for. All the other scenes in the film takes place outdoors, so there's a little bit of a limitation in terms of just how creative you can be with lighting, because you're kind of at the mercy of what the weather is on the day. But shooting at the tavern was good because I actually got a chance to create a very sort of moody, candlelit sort of scene.
I actually had a cameo in the tavern scene, which was great. I was supposedly Catboy, which the cat didn't really want to play with me, so I was just staring boy, I guess. But I think we did about 6 takes, and about the second take in, Glenn, who was supposed to be reciting the story to us that I was listening so intently to, would not do what Daniel had asked him to. So I was instructed to kick Glenn under the table throughout the scene to get Glenn to continue talking and to look really interested in what he was saying.
The bridge was difficult to shoot there because of the freezing cold and the wind and all that sort of stuff, but I think almost equally as challenging was the night shoot, where we were filming on a very warm October night in the middle of spring.
It blew way over, and so we didn't have enough food. I mean, there wasn't no one was expecting to be there all night.
We didn't have enough lights, but we managed to do a pretty good job with what we had. Nick Hallam did a fantastic job of that, actually. He was able to, with just a couple of lights and using the smoke from the fire, able to produce some pretty nice effects and to give a depth of field that we wouldn't have been able to get unless we had a full-on lighting rig there.
Particularly, I remember myself and John were struck down with the most severe hay fever I've ever had in my life. Waterfalls of mucus coming out of my nose. I seem to remember Daniel not having any hay fever though. I remember him being quite immune to it.
The shoot was long. The shoot was very long. It started off in the middle of the day, which was beautiful weather, and it was really warm, and then it went on, and on, and on. Absolutely freezing cold. I got some kind of hay fever thing, so I ended up having to, for the shoot, I had tissues, and I had to shove them up my nose. During where we weren't filming, I just had these tissues hanging from my nose, and then when we were filming, I had to break off little bits and shove them up my nose, because I had the scene where I had to lean over the Virgin and pretend to stab her, and of course my nose was just running like a friggin' tap. So I had to have these tissues shoved up my nose, which apparently are on the film, which will have to be rubbed out. But, but that was interesting. So with smoke pouring in my eyes from the fire that was burning, freezing cold from the weather, and a honker full of tissues. So, but all in all, it was a fantastic experience. Because I got the sword fight. It was funny to be there. It was funny to be doing this shit in the middle of nowhere, traipsing through thorn bushes. Ange will tell you a funny story about thorn bushes. The man was like a human pincushion by the end of the night, I think. So yeah, he was bloodied. I was dripping. Nick was dripping. Ange was crying because of all the smoke in his eyes, and freezing cold because he was in nothing but a loincloth.
I remember just all watery, and it was just like trying to remember my lines, and just it was just smoke going in my eyes. It was blowing one way one minute and then blowing straight in my eyes the next minute. Yeah, it was all over the place. That was hard.
We're mostly concerned about Ange with the sword use, because obviously he makes a lot of money from his body. I was very, very concerned that a sword could go straight and cut him. I'm glad it didn't.
We came up with a fight sequence and we wrote it down. We had them trained in it, and we got there on set, and of course Ange couldn't remember it. So there I was with the fight plan, and I had to actually call the blows out. So I'm standing off screen calling out head, side, other side, leg, head, side.
I remember Dan was yelling at us because me and Ange forgot the fight scene. We were going through the fight scene, and he's like, and it wasn't working. We kept screwing it up, and Dan's like, "For fuck's sake, guys, you did this for ages. You studied this. What's wrong with you now? It's fucking 3 in the morning. 3 in the morning. We're tired. We're cold. I got smoke in my eyes, and my nose is running."
I might have forgotten a few words, but not the fighting scenes. Well, hang on, maybe the fighting scenes he wanted, so I took over and did my own role. It's more like it.
In working with Ange's eye and putting the blood onto it was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. Ange being Mr. Australia and me basically poking him in the eye to apply the blood because he had to be cut over the eye really wasn't a good thing. Ange didn't like it at all. I don't want to mess with Ange because he's just too big. So,
and then of course there was the thistles. We were filming in the middle of a thistle field.
Thistles.
Thistles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, if you talk to Ange, you'll probably have not so loving memories of the thistles.
Yeah, they didn't agree with me at all, those thistles. I was itching all night and the next day as well.
baby oil does not protect you from thistles.
Cohen actually has to chop a spear in half, and I actually provided a spear with actual drill holes through, so it would break on cue. The shot had to be shot at least 6 times before the actual spear broke. By then we were rolling around the place.
Cut. Beautiful.
I was knackered. I'd not only been the fight director, I was guard number 5, or Gordon, as I was called in one scene. By the time we finished, I had trouble walking to the car, let alone driving back home to Melbourne.
Latin. Okay, I know nothing about Latin. I knew nothing about Latin, and I still don't know anything about Latin. But I think it must have been about 3 days before the shoot or something, I get emailed this passage that I had to do in Latin. And not only had to do it in Latin, but I had to intonate in the way that it was actually supposed to be read out. So we wrote it out on this giant piece of cardboard, this whole passage. And while I was leaning over the verge and doing this and looking up and supposed to be screaming out this passage, I was actually reading the passage off what it was. So that was interesting, actually. I hope it doesn't look like I'm reading the passage, but that was interesting to spring on a bloke 3 days before a shoot. Yeah, here's a page of Latin to learn.
He was good, John. He was amazing. His amazing voice, how he played his role. I remember John. That's how I remember him. So yeah, he was good. He played a good part there, and always knew that I was going to kill him anyway.
So it was finishing at 4 a.m. and then driving 2.5 hours back to Melbourne. We left early. I believe Dan and some of the other guys were still there doing a few little pickups and bits and pieces right through till daybreak.
It was fantastic. I loved it. I loved being there. I could have probably stayed there for another 12 hours. I thought it was brilliant. I'm a sucker for punishment when it comes to that. So.
Were there any... Fuck, I wouldn't want to do it again. I ran a basic Discworld news website. So, oh, here's all the plays that are happening, here's the conventions that are happening, you know. And someone emailed me saying, hey, do you have any information about the Australian Discworld convention? I went researching around, I'm like, no, there is no such thing. I'm quite sure there is no such thing. But it's a good idea, isn't it?
That does make it so.
Daniel's doing this thing called Trollbridge. Great. What does that involve? No idea. But he does film. Interesting. Okay, can we use that? Yes, I think we can. And I'm like, oh, it'd be good to do something at the opening of the convention. Hey, Daniel, vague idea. Could you get someone to dress up as Rincewind and run around to Melbourne? And we'll record that. That was all I said. And Daniel's like, I've got this.
The next project we worked with Snowgum was on a promotional video for a conference about Discworld, and it involved a number of guards chasing a young Rincewind through a large forest.
I was called up and told that I resembled the wizard in the Terry Pratchett books, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting, yeah, sounds like an interesting project. So I went and read some more Terry Pratchett and looked in the books. I'm like, oh, I do kind of look like the wizard.
Seeing him in the cape for the first time was one of those great moments when you feel like you've actually done something. You know, Emily made this fantastic costume. As soon as he put it on, he was Rincewind. He wasn't a guy in a costume. He wasn't an actor or anything like that. He was Rincewind.
Obviously looked at a lot of Kidby's work for Rincewind. So looked at what he did with the design, read through a lot of the books, checked out forums, what fans were saying, things like that.
The hardest thing about the Rincewind costume was actually aging it. It should be easy to make something look wrecked, but for some reason, velvet won't age. It just keeps cleaning itself. So it ended up being up to Troy a lot of the time. It's just try and wreck it as much as you can.
I thought, oh, it'd be easy, you know, a bit of a lark. I'm dressed up as a wizard, run around the forest.
It was a fun shoot. It was an intense shoot. It was physically demanding, which I underestimated. Absolutely.
You know, I think we had, 15 people dressed in full suits of armour and chainmail and all that kind of thing. Just running. And it was just, okay, ready, run.
Like the title states, run, Rincewind, run. The word run is in there twice for a reason, because all I did for maybe 13, 14 hours was run.
And we're running through bracken, like that bracken fern. I had lacerations, deep, penetrating lacerations that were just like fire.
Lads, look! It's a tree. Oh. I told you they were brown, didn't I?
Silence!
Ooh. It was just a laugh. It was just something that was really right up my alley. And it was great, except for the leeches. I remember there was a lot of leeches.
We're with these professional medieval reenactors who were playing the soldiers in the film, and one of them just leaned over to me and he goes, "Any minute now it's going to start raining leeches." And I'm like, raining? Did you say raining leeches? He's like, "Oh yeah, these are the type of the trees they live in, and it's going to start raining leeches." And I'm like, we've got to stop the shoot. We cannot go. If it's raining leeches.
And we had a specific guy who was running around burning leeches off people with cigarettes.
Leech hit, leech hit, leech hit, leech hit. And this guy with a big leech sucking on his head, and I'm like, ah!
I had this huge leech hanging off the side of my head. Luckily, one of my fellow soldiers had a lighter and burnt it off for me. And I bled for a while.
There's always terrible things happening to Rincewind. He's always running through trouble. And we got to the point where we were just walking through the forest and Daniel's just looking for terrible things to do to me. He's like, run through that piece of crap over there. Okay, climb up that tree, jump off it and run over there. Okay.
And director goes, just run down the waterfall. So we'll film that, see how that goes.
I'm like, I can't go. I'm not going down the waterfall. No one, a human being can't go down the waterfall. And he went, yes, they can. I'm like, you go down the waterfall. And he goes, all right. And then he went down the waterfall and I went, guess I'm going down the waterfall. And we did. I don't think that shot ended up in the film though.
And that was a great end to the shoot on that day. I'm sopping wet in this wizard costume in the middle of a forest in Victoria, in the middle of nowhere, walking back to the car.
And who should I see? One of my co-workers. And he's just walking and he looks up and he goes, Troy? And I'm like, g'day mate, how's it going? Nice day for it. And he's like, what are you doing?
I found it hard to draw an answer for why I was in the middle of a forest soaking wet in a wizard costume.
Yeah, I should have said, well, obviously I'm a wizard, Gary. Or what do you expect?
But it was the shoot in the city that fully made me realise how popular this series of books is. People saying, oh, are you filming Discworld? Are you filming something to do with Rincewind? Because the costume that we had was so iconic that people just went, whoa, that's instantly recognised.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a glimpse now in the room of a filmmaker who has been going non-stop for the past 2 weeks. This is currently where I sleep. That's my bed there. More crap on the floor, obviously, and moving along, here is my workstation. Yeah, and that corner there is kind of where I sleep. 7 o'clock tonight, Troy's big entrance, the premiere, Terry gets abused.
And I remember Friday afternoon when things had kicked off and people started to arrive, and I wandered out to the main open area and looked at the queue and went, oh shit, people have shown up. And not only have they given us money, which is amazing, they are here. And then Daniel's like, oh, we're going to add a little bit of live stuff on at the end. Do you think Terry would be okay with that? And I'm like, okay with what?
Run, Rincewind, Run finishes with Rincewind running into the building where the convention was.
And I'm seated at the back of the room, and I'm watching. I'm just like, this is good. This is, that's a good Rincewind. That's a good. And then the doors. I really wet myself when the doors came open at that point, and I'm just like, what the? Okay, now I'm stroking out. Because now he's here.
Rincewind, that is.
Yeah, Rincewind was here. Just like,
I didn't tell the rest of the community that was going to happen,
No.
which I was very happy about.
I have never forgiven you for not
Oh,
telling
yeah,
us.
that's fair.
You bastard.
And at the very end, you see Terry laughing so hard,
Yeah.
so hard, and that he's brought us so much laughter. So, so to have a very tiny part in my case in making him laugh is pretty special.
And I left, I walked out, and I was jumping in my car, and he called up and said, "Look, Terry Pratchett wants to meet you." So I thought, that's pretty cool, that Terry Pratchett wants to meet me. So, but I thought it was awesome, and he loved the character, he loved the film, and I think he was very enthusiastic about it, and I think he was really happy with how it was done.
After we'd finished, I was there for maybe another half an hour with people who wanted to take photographs of this character. I think it is a testament to Terry's writing and Terry's career that people are so, you know, get so much joy out of this series of books and this particular character. I think it's, you know, to be able to create a character like that is I don't know, it's something special.
It also meant that when it came time to promote the second convention, it's like, hey Daniel, you've done one video for us. What's another one between friends, right?
It was the parody of the old BB commercial. You can get it running, you can get it sunning, you can get it chasing a cow. And that was a 30-second clip, but it took us about, I don't know, 9 or 10 months to film because these fellas thought, you know what, let's film it everywhere in Victoria and New South Wales. So essentially I had to keep the look of Rincewind for about 10 months. People going, is everything all right with you, Troy? You know, you need to borrow some money or something? And we went to all sorts of fantastic places. We wanted desert, we wanted snow, we wanted forest, so we went and found all these things. Now we've got a basic plan. We know we're going to go there. We don't know what we'll find, but I'm sure we'll find something dangerous, and we'll do that. And if we find more than one dangerous thing, we'll see how many of them that we can do in the one shoot. Need some snow. Where do we get it? I don't know, on top of a mountain. 2-hour hike, and we're just like carrying out with the, oh my God, we're carrying all our gear, and we're like, no snow, no snow, no snow. And eventually we see a little patch, you know, you see a little patch, there's a patch of snow, we're getting the snow, and eventually, boom, we got snow. We're like, yeah, we're in the snow. Get on the Rincewind outfit. Cold, you know, it's not made for cold weather, but get it on, we'll do a few shots of him running around the snow. And I'm like, yeah, and Dan's like, nah. Because as a director, he's great, because he's never satisfied. And that's a good thing in a director, never satisfied. He's like, I bet there's more snow over there. And we were like, all right, Dan, you go find that snow. And he left and didn't come back. And time started ticking, you know, we're all sort of standing there going, and time ticking more, we're like, I started imagining newspaper headlines. You know, I started imagining idiot film crew dies on mountain. I'm like, oh my God. And then we started getting to the point where I'm like, Daniel! Dan! I think we're in trouble. And eventually, boom, he comes over like, oh God, there is good snow. I'm like, no, we got the shots. We got them. He's all right, we got the shots. Time's running out. And it was getting late in the afternoon. We're like, okay, let's hoof it. Find the track. And we start making our way down. That sun is just going behind there. And we are carrying all our gear, and we're wet, and we're saturated, and we're carrying back, and like the sun's getting darker, and I'm starting to lose track of the path. And I'm like, dear Lord, please come in. I'm starting doing that one. I'm going, oh, please come on, please give me that. And the director and I were just powering ahead. We're like, we're going to make this, we're going to make this. And I'm looking at the sun go down and down and down. And I'm like, in my mind all the time, I'm going, we're going to make it alive. We're going to get out of here. This is going to be a funny story one day. And I was so convinced that everything was going to be fine. I'm like, the director's in front. He's leading the way. He knows what he's doing. I trust this guy. It's fantastic. And it was getting darker and darker, almost not being able to see the track. And the director in front of me, he just stops and he just turns around and he goes, Troy, we're stuffed.
And that's when my heart almost sank out of my chest, because that part in the back of my mind that says everything's going to be all right, he just went, oh. And eventually we get down the bottom like, oh my God, we made it. And it was dark, it was nighttime, and it was just like, buff, we made it, I can't believe it. 2 weeks later, a bloke went missing on that mountain and was gone for 2 days, and they found him. I was like, oh my God.
So someone got the headline?
Yeah, someone got the headline. Someone took a, yeah. There was someone was supposed to get a headline, and it wasn't us, thank goodness. We didn't get the headline.
Because otherwise it would have been wizard found.
Yeah. Frozen wizard corpse discovered. Anthropologist baffled.
I like that. If you go through that commercial, shot by shot, there is an amazing amount of landscape within that little 2 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And the snow stuff only lasted like 3 seconds.
Like, so much effort for something so small.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's small and brilliant. Exactly, wonderful. Like the effort that they've gone to as fans.
I almost died 4 times to make the commercial. But I did get to drink a beer at the end of it, and isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that what makes it all worthwhile?
No!
Whether you backed it or not, Trollbridge has been there since the start of the conventions, and I don't doubt that in some way Trollbridge is going to be there for any that follow. There's always going to be a Snowgum or a Trollbridge panel.
I'm going to definitely be at the convention. I've got no excuse. I live just down the road. So even if I'm just there with a name badge that says Daniel Knight, please kick me, I'll definitely be there.
He's shown up at every single convention, mostly with this stressed out look on his face, because it's the latest version and he's not sure whether it's the best version or not, and he can often be editing it like right up to the actual panel.
I come back here, continue working on the Trollbridge teaser trailer, and hopefully it'll be ready by 2 o'clock tomorrow. Hopefully. I'll probably give you another update at that point. Next time my computer is rendering.
And we still joke about one of the early rushes where it's a bit of a scene, and on it there's an arrow, and the text says, insert troll here. And it's just moved on from there. Scenes with green screen have become scenes with scenery in the background, and explanations that the scenery will look better next time, and there will be some shadows here and weather there. We've just seen it come along step by step. It's just been fantastic.
Kickstarter films disappear all the time, you know, because making a film is a really tough thing, and a lot of Kickstarter films and crowdfunded films have just simply disappeared because the people running them have become exhausted, or they don't know what they're doing, and they've just gone. But always being visible once a year, and anyone that we're at these conventions could approach and talk to and have a one-on-one conversation about the state of the film was incredibly beneficial towards the production. So the cons were critical, because no one would trust us otherwise. Look, I got to say, without the support you guys and encouragement along the way, there's no way we would have continued pulling on that thread that was Trollbridge.
It's important for people to see that they're not alone, and that they are not only not alone, but they're normal for a given value of normal, and celebrate these things that you love. With people who also love them.
It brings us all together for not so much a friend feel, but a family feel. So sometimes we argue, sometimes we don't. It makes people feel like they are a part of something bigger. And that's what everyone wants, even if they don't know it.
And the other thing it does is it refuels me every single convention, and I'm very lucky in that I get one a year, which revitalizes me and helps me remember why I started doing this in the first place. And of course you always remember Terry, and then you just want the work to be as best as it possibly can be.
So we'll definitely be at the Australian Discworld convention. If you're going, I'll be there. Say hello, strangle me, throttle me for not finishing the film. Do as you please.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for your time. We, of course, can't wait for Trollbridge. We will look out for the updates, and we can't wait to see you at the UK convention.
Thank you very much for having me.